Good morning. Welcome to, excuse me, I got a bit of a hoarse voice today. The prop process. For those of you who don't know, I'm a profitable live account trader who is coming into the prop firm space to figure out how to become a profitable prop firm trader. So join me on the journey. So having a pretty good morning so far. Looking at the pre-market, huge sell-off right here at open. The Asia Open got this huge sell-off and then immediate buy back up. Obviously, this huge red candle tells you two things. Tells you there was a lot of selling pressure, but it also tells you people were buying it back up. But what was interesting is it didn't, this is all-time highs, so it didn't continue all-time highs. I feel like it kind of gave people a nod, like, all right, there's space now. We can kind of come get back down to near the low of the session. Bit of a rally, but as soon as we kind of got to about halfway, it faded again. So coming into the open, we did kind of push a bit higher, but my analysis was that there was selling pressure, and that does fit in with where we're at. Yes, we're near all-time highs, but this kind of record-breaking rally that we've had has been based on the ceasefire with Iran, and currently there is no sign that war's ending. I think Monday we saw, if you look at Monday's chart, we saw kind of a little bit of that. I think yesterday, we can't remember exactly, but there were some more positive headlines. And NQ definitely had enough energy to kind of push up higher, but ES did not. If you look at ES, it did not actually break yesterday's highs. So, it's not, can't base everything on one news catalyst, which is the war, but that was the emphasis to kind of push a bit higher. Yesterday, we were able to get higher on the NQ, but not the ES. So anyway, coming into this morning open, I was pretty bearish. If you look a bit, so we'd tried to get to new highs. We were down pretty much all day. We rejected off of the opening price, so I think probably we're up 0% on the day, rejected back down. So coming to the open, right about here, I wanted to see a break of VWAP, which we did get, which is actually where I got my first entry on my demo account. But we rejected, and people pushed it even higher. We got to the high of pre-market high, and wasn't actually sweating it. It felt very trappy. It was a kind of a slow grind up. Didn't really feel like on either there was much conviction. Obviously, a big kind of buy candle as we opened, but 5 minutes after we opened, but it just didn't feel, my opinion was that we just didn't feel like we had the follow through. So scaled into this position at key value areas, at kind of previous support and resistance points on the session, and yeah, eventually we had a drop. We had a drop at about 650 to 710 in my eyes. It's usually if we're trended in one direction, but it doesn't quite feel there. is where we'll see a rejection. Sometimes it'll be from a news catalyst, sometimes it'll just be the close of an hourly candle. And so, yeah, again, this is a demo account which is setting up for my Apex 250k account, which I'll be starting after a trip beginning next month. And so sold off significantly. We did, once we got to, on the hourly, once we got to this kind of area, I had 24 contracts. I did take them off and replace them with 4. Took a couple kind of scalping moves because I felt like we were going to get a push back up at some point. And that's where we are now. So this is the demo account. Remember, 2,000 is my kind of goal on this account. Replicating either two contracts on 2 different 250k accounts, or 4 accounts if we can get there, maybe in a couple of years. But also toying with the idea of having this be kind of how I'm trying to pass an account. Very, very aggressive. Basically, my max loss on a regular day, if I tried to have this be pass an account, would be my blown account. So we'll see. Conditions last week were lovely for it, but haven't been great. So it'd have to be perfect 7 days in a row, which is doable with this strategy. Very forgiving strategy, but we'll see. Anyway, come into this Apex account. Not the kind of price action I like to trade with the 50k account. Much smaller allowance for drawdown and kind of making these quickie scalp moves on it. I'm not going to be taking a trade unless something kind of changes. I think if we get a break to the downside, or if we kind of keep getting stuck on a area around here, then I could change my mind. But right now it's feeling a little bit choppy for such a small account. So again, if there's you new, this is my journey into the prop firm space. Made nearly $30,000 end of 2024, coming into 2025, and took a big loss on one day. Made it even worse by spiraling, and vowed to make it back slowly, which I was lucky enough to do. And the second I got that full amount, my peak account size, I said I was done with live trading. I was moving over to the prop firm space. So often a bit of a different journey than a lot of people, but here we are. So just checking on my demo account, I can see this kind of hitting this 2,000, pretty soon. I know we're chopping around here for a while, but it'll just take a bit of a push with 12 contracts to get there. So keep an eye on that. This price level's a bit more, price action's a bit more. See if we could, so these 2 purple lines is my 15-minute orb, or the 15-minute orb. It's the opening range. We tried to have a breakout, we failed. I think if we could break down, I could see a bit more kind of selling pressure. So that would be a really nice entry, as kind of a break of the 15-minute orb, a close, and then a retest. So we'll keep an eye on that. I think we're coming into that right now. Seeing some red news on the day, but nothing like dramatically, other than these kind of scheduled news reports. You've not really had anything red letter. Obviously Trump's been tweeting I mean, just negative. Not the most exciting kind of news to be getting, but hey. So yes, sorry, that caused a bit of a push at 5:45. I think that's if we go back to the yeah. So anyway, nothing within since the market's been open to really push too much. So yeah, we're chopping. This has been the price action this week. Big kind of swings at the open, up, down, no clear direction, and then a chop. Yesterday we definitely did have follow through, but by about 8 o'clock we were kind of chopping most of the day. So keeping an eye on my demo while we chop. This isn't kind of the price action I kind of excited to get into in my smaller account. What I will say is I noticed the indicator I've been using pretty often on my Apex hasn't made it over. So for those of you who are using Tradeovate, an interesting I have a lot of lines, but I'd argue that I don't have a lot of indicators that I pay that much attention to. I'm pretty simple meat and potatoes trader, liquidity, support, resistance, and trend on day, basically just price action. But what my theory is, what are other people looking at? What are other people paying attention to? And not having that dictate my actions, but having that be kind of an explanation to some of these a little bit more erratic price actions. So you know, you don't need any lines on the screen right now to tell you that if we have a big kind of liquidity pool right here, keep bouncing off of it, and arguably a bit of a liquidity pool right here. Not to be condescending, but for anyone who is very new, we have a range forming, kind of a tight consolidation range. What happens is people, range traders or whoever, will say they bet that it's going to go down. When we kind of bounce up here, they don't want to kind of risk a lot of money in the opposite, so then they'll put their stop over here. And then the same, people who potentially wanted to go long and bounce off a fair value gap, well, a good kind of indication that they were wrong would be if we broke this 50-minute orb low and this 5-minute red candle's wick. So basically till we get a sweep of one of these and then either continue in that direction or do a liquidity sweep and continue that direction, or reject off it, people just needing to kind of fuel the market and then bounce back. So just keep an eye on that right now. But what I will do is add this new indicator that I've been enjoying to Tradeovate. I already had it. Oh no, okay. Well, there you go. So I needed to download it to install it on this one to have it. So yes, so look, you don't want too many indicators. You don't want analysis paralysis, but let's just kind of walk through why we might have these on here. Or at least I'll do it on this one with a bit cleaner. So this is my 5-minute chart. So what are we seeing? Take my box out. So arguably the most important for me, or the three most important, is VWAP. Are we trading above? Are we trading below VWAP? Now sometimes on days like today, it's not as instrumental as it can be on other days, but on days where we are far away from the VWAP in one direction, far above it, if we then have a move on the downside, and basically it's often a good area to basically we'll either bounce back off, or if we close below it, we close below it with some conviction. So VWAP's quite an interesting one. It just says where people's heads are at on the day, and I often, always have ES on my chart, and if we're trading above VWAP on one and below VWAP on another, well, that tells me something. If they're matching, often that will tell me something. If we're kind of going in opposite directions, that'll tell me something. So look, you had a little bit of a liquidity sweep potentially, which is kind of why we've got this downside, but could reject back. But anyway, I see a little bit of a mini liquidity sweep happen just there, in my opinion. So that's this white dotted line is VWAP, and then this kind of box area, red line, yellow line, and green line. This is the range of where we've been trading since the New York Open. And these are value areas. So point of control, this box is basically where 75% of the trading volume has been happening. I use this as a areas of support resistance. Often, if we're gonna, again, this isn't foolproof every day, but often it will be kind of areas where we bounce off. So here you can see we bounced off the value area high below and then came back up. And then down here you can see bounced off value area low, point back up. But these aren't hard and fast, these are just anything to kind of make it make sense in your head, but you still need to be paying attention to the price movement. EMAs, I honestly don't pay much attention to EMAs unless I'm seeing a very clear trend on the day. So there's some days where you'll see that we're kind of moving up, that we will be respecting one EMA very significantly. We're actually respecting the EMA on the 200 EMA on the 15-minute charts. Monday, Tuesday, we were kind of having big sell-offs, and then as soon as you hit to the 15 EMA, we had this huge rally back up. So kind of was paying attention to that yesterday. And then these kind of dotted lines pay even less attention to, really, but they tell me about previous sessions. So previous sessions low, previous sessions open, previous sessions close, previous sessions high. And then finally, these purple lines is the 15-minute opening range. So the first 15 minutes, clearly not working well today. Need to dial that in, but it would be basically the first 15 minutes of where we traded. It'll mark the high, it'll mark the low, it'll give me kind of a middle point. And a lot of people like to basically trade a break of the ORB. They'll see if price goes out of that range, and then if it closes, they'll enter, or they'll wait for a retest and kind of come back. Or just for a lot of people, if we're trading within the 15-minute range, we're just going to be having quite a rangy morning or even day. So let me just dial in my... Yep, not sure what I'm seeing there that's... So, had a liquidity sweep, now pushing back up a bit. Get another entry, scaling in. I got one more here for this kind of pop of liquidity on this 1 hour before we had a sell-off. Got one more here for kind of a rejection off of kind of open. And then I'll probably bring one down here. And then this is my kind of Hail Mary if we really do have a pop. But I want to see if we pop here, then was it incorrect analysis on the day, and we probably get out. So having a bit of a rally on the upside right now, pushing up. My personal opinion is we're not going to be hanging around here much. Could be wrong. So ideally we get a bit of a kind of a quick sell-off, and I'll catch my extra $500 needed for my goal on the day. And then for here, yeah, I just don't, look, is this a good retest to kind of a bounce off here and come push higher? I just don't know. We're coming near high of the day on the ES, so I don't have much conviction in this. Bouncing off value area high. I mean, point of control and VWAP, I feel like we got a mini liquidity sweep and then bounced off there and came back up, but I just feels very trappy. Very trappy. Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. So I do have a trigger on my um, Trader 8 that will, once I hit 2000, it will get me out. It's not always that reactive. So sometimes you'll get there and it will miss it. Excuse me. We are having a bit of a pushback up right now. Also, a goal of mine is to be done by 8 o'clock Western time, 11 o'clock. It's usually when a lot less volume, trading kind of slows down. We have actually been having kind of 8 o'clock's actually when the market feels like it's been opening a second time. So I have also continuation and go till 9. But for me, my kind of main issue recently has been having really working on my mental headspace. And trading all day has not been good for that. I'm of the opinion that less is more. Well, that's at least what works for me. Always got to be mindful of your mental capacity, how much mental energy you bring into the day, how much you expelled staring at charts for an hour and a half. Will you start get sloppy looking at YouTube or shorts or texts or whatever? So got a doji on the 5 minute. I like to look at higher time frames really, but these kind of it is hard to ignore what's happening at a more micro level. I very rarely now pay attention to the 1 minutes. The only time I'm really paying attention is right at open, and even then not that much, just to see if we're having that kind of first 5 minutes can often tell you a lot about the next hour, or if it's kind of a very established trend, kind of where a micro pullback's happening, but not often spending a lot of time on the 1 minutes for my trading style anyway. I found that when I did, I was kind of getting going for scalps and getting chopped up. So So 20 minutes left on the session for me, with our continuation that I hope doesn't happen. I don't see any trading in my Apex account happening today. Not on an account this size. So for this other kind of strategy, this is the kind of price action that's not actually that fun, because there you go, we're getting a bit of a sell-off now. I think we'll trigger, but basically, if we my whole thing is built on this kind of, the market moves in waves. Even when it's moving up, there's a pullback, and we'll get into it another time. But often what happened was get a nice push up, a nice pull down, and then we kind of chop around here. So if I've kind of like entered into a trade around here, I'm actually going to move down just a touch. I feel like I might get a rejection, but at least we're as soon as it didn't hit my my position, I knew that we'd either go further or we just wouldn't hit it again. So I could move it up to here, re-enter. I actually might do that. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't do that if I wasn't as close, but I just think we've got momentum on the side. What I'll probably do is I'll probably keep that here and give it a couple minutes to see. Might have been the wrong move. Often I try to kind of rush out of the trade as we're coming into 8, which will kind of cause me to do decisions I wouldn't have done earlier. There might have been a kind of a nice clean extra $200 I could have re-entered, but we'll see. If we do get a push back up here, I'm going to actually add in a value area rejection. Actually, I think it seems to be coming back up there. This is kind of point of the day where I can often ruin a really good bias, where I close to my goal and I kind of scale in quite aggressively because I'm certain a move's coming and then it doesn't. So patience. So here's a good example. I'm not a kind of a 14-minute EMA, whatever, 20-minute EMA, whatever, but it has kind of been rejecting every time it comes down, or at least kind of respecting these EMAs. So you got to think, what are other people looking at? Almost, I have no idea what percent of traders, but a lot of traders trade EMA or have them on their charts at least. So if they're seeing this, and they see that it comes back down like they just did, they're seeing a good buying opportunity, especially as it's right where point of control is. So yeah, this is a good example of if I'd paid more attention to what was going on in the ES, probably would have gone out that trade and re-entered on a smaller size. But I'm not too worried. If we now suddenly have a rally, okay, I was wrong today, but I don't know how long-lived it will be. My frustration is more trying to be done by 8, but I think being in a trade and being done by 8 is a bit different than not being in a trade and entering one around 8 o'clock. So I'm going to kind of give myself a bit of a examination on that rule, because it might not be that beneficial. I'm gonna have this right at, yeah. So yes, bouncing off of market high, day highs, which is also looking at the daily, coming into all-time highs. Um, ES does it want to go higher? I mean, it's definitely got the buyer's crazy wick on both the days here. So we're pushing. ES is coming into previous day all-time highs, trying to turn positive on the day. So I got a entry here for kind of a bounce off of the open. Got an entry here. I'm going to sit on my hands a little bit. This is the kind of area where I'll let emotions get the better of me. Put my entries in place. Not really anything to do now.
What would it feel?
So yep, got a push up. Definitely should have got out earlier. My re-entry would have been able to kind of scale in a bit, where I've got to stay very disciplined now and just hope that we don't have huge momentum kind of carrying us through. Another break of higher days, very interesting, but hey, record breaking rally continues. So I think this is going to be a bit of a failed day. Um, Definitely think if I'd have got out, I could have scaled in. My entry now is quite significantly far away from my current price level. All right, that's going to be it for me, guys. Bit of a miss today. Got cocky. Or cocky is probably not the right term, but saw the end in sight right at this candle and didn't get out. If I had, I could have re-entered, and this reversal wouldn't have been. I could have scaled in a bit more aggressively, but might play out. I've got kind of my final entry here. I don't really, you know, after this, if you look, we're just going into new territory and shorten kind of all-time highs. It's not the best strategy, so I'll probably call it if we just kind of keep going, but I'll let it chop around. If we get some huge momentum, then it'll stop me out for the day. If we reject, then hopefully I'll be done for the day. So I'm going to go reset, get a coffee. I might come back on to kind of finish off what happened with the day, but yeah, very likely we could just kind of push all my all-time highs. And so I have one more entry, which is right here, yesterday's high. So if we get that, reject down, could be good. If not, call it a loss on the day, and I'll have an automatic stop out my max loss. So anyway, thanks for joining. I will continue this journey with you. I will continue refining my strategy to work with prop firms, and we will be a profitable prop firm trader. Till next time.